and that's been released this morning. And then lastly, it's on the, certainly we were going, Leon, to update about the new Bus for London collision in September. I'm not sure which one of the two that is, actually.
I suspect it would be best to do the serious collision that took place in Chelsea Bridge Road, involving a bus on Route 11. I think the best thing we can say about that particular incident, which members will recall, involved 3 buses and 2 private vehicles, and injuries to a number of them. The investigation is still going on, and what I was able to say last time was that the bus, having left the stop in Sloane Street, continued under power southbound across the junction with Pimlico Road, and eventually, at some 40 miles an hour, ran into the back of a line of traffic that was queuing on the approach to Chelsea Bridge. The bus was under power throughout this period. We have removed from the bus and fitted to other buses or onto a test rig all of the equipment that controls the acceleration and the braking of this particular bus, and all of it works perfectly. The driver has only recently been released from hospital and is first being interviewed by the Metropolitan Police. But we know from the telemetry that we have from the bus that at no time during this was the brake pedal pressed. We also know at no time during this was the parking brake applied, and we know at no time during this was any attempt for the bus to be selected into neutral. So the investigation continues as to why. It leads you in the direction of believing that the throttle pedal was fully depressed, and it leaves open to question as to why that would be the case. The way in which the new Bus for London is wired is that the accelerator pedal has 2 potentiometers attached to it, and unless the control box is receiving simultaneously an identical signal in phase, you don't get any power. So there is a once-in-a-lifetime possibility of a spurious, identical, synchronous, simultaneous signal, or you conclude that the pedal was depressed. The configuration is also such that if there's a conflict between the throttle pedal and the brake pedal, that's safely pressed both. The fly-by-wire gives the brake pedal precedence. So whether if the accelerator pedal is pressed and you start to feel uncomfortable, you press the brake pedal, even if the accelerator pedal remains for some reason fully down, the brakes take priority. The brakes are also wired in parallel. All the wiring is completely duplicated. And the truth is that if that brake pedal had been pressed at any time during this accident, the bus would have stopped. The same also applies if the handbrake had been applied. The bus would have stopped and would have stopped under control in a straight line, because I have personally applied the same technique of applying the parking brake at 40 miles an hour, and the bus just stops in a straight line. So I'm afraid, whilst the investigation continues, we're led in the direction that there was no obvious fault with any of the equipment on the bus.
Can you comment on when that will be concluded, Leon? Like, when will we know the answer or the outcome of the investigation?
I would hope by the time we meet again in December we'd be in a position to have a definitive answer to that. There's a second new Bus for London incident which relates to a passenger who was seriously injured having come off the platform of the bus on Route 24. And the circumstances of that, again, having seen the CCTV, is that the lady in question was wearing headphones and looking at the screen of a mobile phone throughout her journey, whilst seated and whilst walking to the platform. Whilst on the platform, she continues to look at this screen, and when the bus stops, she makes half an attempt to get off and changes her mind. And at that moment, the bus starts to move away, and then she decides to get off. Because she's holding with her left hand on the pole, she is rotating anti-clockwise, and so ends up on the pavement facing against the direction of travel. And whilst if you're facing forwards, you might take a couple of steps and regain your balance, because she's travelling backwards, she fell over and cracked her head on the corner of the paving stone. She remains in hospital with life-changing injuries, in an induced coma with serious head injuries.
So, again, we're taking the opportunity of telling you, probably in much greater detail than maybe you wanted to know, about incidents which are being widely reported without any of the facts being in the public domain. None of us believe that we're saying anything that we shouldn't. We're not prejudicing insurance claims. We're not prejudicing coroner's inquiries. We're desperately sorry for all of the people involved, of course, where there have been injuries and deaths. but we're getting to a stage where we should say something about these, because actually there's a lot of widespread media and social media comment which actually, some of it which bears absolutely no relationship to the circumstance of the accident. So thank you for your indulgence. Very happy to answer questions.
We should note the numbers on page 3, Peter. I'm not sure what was significant about week commencing the 22nd of September, but those numbers are staggering, and if that was the record, that no doubt means there'll be new records in December, I would have thought.
Yeah, well, in fact, we've already hit one, because